Welcome back to the channel, guys. On today's video, we are going to be doing a shell swap on a Nintendo Switch. I just bought this one off eBay. Bought some brand new Joy-Cons, and this is the shell that we're going to be swapping. I think it's just like a clear frosted something or other. This is going to be a 3-part video. It's going to be first Joy-Con, second Joy-Con, and then the case, just so that for time's sake. So, with all that, let's get into it. Alright guys, so we are going to be replacing the right Joy-Con now. This is just a screen one. Won't matter which color you're using. Again, I will be swapping these buttons into here instead of using the clear ones or the colored ones. But again, you do what you want. You can order special buttons. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff. The world is yours. With this video, of course, like the other ones, attempt anything at your own risk. I'm not responsible for anything you do to your own devices. And just imagine that I don't have any idea what I'm doing. So, but we'll get through it. So let's go. Tri-wing for getting these 4 screws out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Should probably use the tri-wing. Again, you want to manage your screws. Got some stuff flying around for some other stuff that's floating around everywhere. I believe that this Joy-Con is the harder of the two. The reason I believe so is that I believe this one has the NFC reader on there. So it's just like one extra little thing in there. Put this aside. So again, we're gonna have to, after those 4 are out, we're gonna have to get along the seams and spread them apart. Some clips in there. It'll come apart. We have this one screw over here that needs to come out. That is a Phillips. These are not magnetic, so just gonna make sure you're watching for your screws. Don't want to lose those. And here there's this little black thing that comes out. That's your Joy-Con release. So first thing, we want to take out our battery supply because you don't want to be sparking stuff. You want to grab the red and white wire very gently, as close as you can, and then just kind of gently pull, and it'll pull up. If you tug too hard, you might possibly rip out the little connector that's actually in there. I don't know how light is. This one right here. Don't want to get that out because then you're pretty much screwed. So we're just gonna take the battery out. You shouldn't be too hard. Slick by just a little bit of glue. Let's see, so looks like we will be taking this off next. There's some screws under it. When taking this off, just like the other one, both the Joy-Cons are the same in this sense. There's springs under here. There's one there, and there's another, not sure if you can see it, right here. So there's 2 springs, and they are under tension. So if they are, when you're taking this off, if you aren't covering your hand over it or something, then they'll go flying everywhere, and you don't want that. So put your hand over it, kind of get your thumb under there to hold it. If you want to hold it down like this while you do it, so that way they're shooting kind of into your hand, and then you're not pulling off very hard. You want to kind of pull with a little bit of force, and then you'll hear it come off. So here's one, and here is the other. And then we're going to take off, put these over here. Of course, extreme rate. I got my case to extreme rate. They are nice enough to provide extra springs. So if you do need those, they do have them. And we're going to take this one screw off. And then there's these two screws here. One's here, the other one is here. Then there's a third one over here, and I believe that's all that holds in the middle plate. Take those two off. I can't get them, so I'm just going to tip that over. That's our third one. We do have this antenna thing for, not sure what it's for. So that's gotta go through this little path right here. Just gotta remember that when we are putting it back together. Make sure this thing doesn't snag on it. Put that off to the side. And so now we got the board. We have the R button. This is just like the other one. It is spring loaded, so you gotta be careful when you're taking this off as well. Usually this one actually sticks pretty good to it, but there we go. There's that spring. So next, let's see. I think I'm just going to take out the joystick screws, which is this one and this one. They're the gold looking ones. And then it looks like there are two more screws, this one and this one over here. And those are silver ones. That looks like the only two that are holding down the motherboard. So I'm going to tilt those over. I'm going to hold the board because there's all the buttons and stuff behind it. And then, before I take out the motherboard, I'm going to take out this, the vibration motor. Has a little bit of tape under there. And then underneath that is the ribbon, I believe, for the NFC sensor or something. Just be careful with that because you don't want it to rip. It's not just something that just pulls out. So I believe there's a little bit of glue, so just be careful when taking that out. And that, let's see. You're going to have to push the joystick. One coming out. So we're actually going to turn this one to the side because it looks like there's some other stuff on the bottom. Take this joystick out of the dust cover. And so we have this black thing, which is probably the NFC thing. So I'm going to use this little guy to kind of pry around. See if I can get it up. There we go. And now all the guts of the controller is out. For these, this swap, I'm going to be swapping over the dust cover. You don't have to. again, like an old one that I did, this one doesn't have the dust cover in it. Makes it look a little cleaner, but then you don't get the added dust protection. So again, that's up to you. Do as you please. We can take the home button out, and as we're actually taking them out, we can just start putting them into the new one. I believe that's the right way. It is not. That's the right way. I'm going to take out the dust little protector thing. 2 tabs. This tab, this tab. Has a little bit of glue on it. Take that off, and you're just gonna put it back on the same way. It has these 2 little notches. They're sticking out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want to be in those notches. So just get one on and then rotate the other one so that it fits on. And then kind of just rub down this just so it kind of gets a little sticky again. You're just pushing down on the adhesive. Next, we're going to take out the plus button. I guess I got them both. That goes there. This goes there. And then we're just going to put these buttons into place. I'm going to raise this up a little bit, maybe just by putting it over something, just so that when I put these in, they aren't sticking out because your Joy-Con, the top of it is not flat. Everything's out of this one. Put that to the side. Make sure that your orientation of the D-pad matches this orientation. I'll show it on this one. See, they're going vertically. So you have to make sure that this is also going vertically, because if it's horizontal, it will not fit. So now those are down. Then we can start putting this stuff back in. So first we're going to put this black thing in. I mean, it's all one piece, but has a notch right here for this pull right there, so you should just be able to put it into place. And then this tab right here that's going to hold your, I think it's an NFC reader, I'm not 100% sure. Want to make sure that that goes into place. And then we're going to turn the board over. So board's in place. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the joystick back down. I have to push a little bit to get it past that the dust cover. Put this vibrator back into its position. Mine is stuck a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to keep this pressed just so I can look and make sure that everything's there. So all my buttons are there, at least on the front side. We haven't put the shoulder buttons on yet. So now I'm going to go in reverse, how I took my screws. I'm going to put the motherboard ones back first. Next is going to be the joystick screws. Along the way, you're going to want to definitely flip your board over. You may have to put a little bit of pressure on some things just because they're not fully compressed all the way down, just to make sure that the buttons clicks, joystick looks good, everything clicks. So we are good to go and put the middle on. Actually, before that, we need to make sure that we get the R button on. So with the shoulder buttons, you got this spring, you got this edge, and you got this edge over here. So you kind of want to get the spring compressed first. I put this side into this little pocket over here first, and then I kind of pivot it over this side, and into place. So compress the spring, put that in there, then bring it over until it's over the edge. Of course, you want to test it. It clicks. Make sure it's all the way down. We're going to put the middle section in. This flap needs to be over. And it'll sit in place just like that. We're going to put a screw here, here, and here. So that's these three right here. Just drop into place, screw them in. The vibrator is magnetic, it seems, and so this one doesn't want to play nice. So you may have to fiddle around with that one for a little bit. But that's in. So next, we're going to put this little flappy guy down. Just want to put it over wherever it's going. Let it sit there. You take your screw and then put it into place. sure that one screws in. And then comes the fun, dreaded hard part. So, but before we do the dreaded part, we're gonna put this thing back just so it's out of our way. Kind of loop it into this thing, and then it's gonna go around. Actually, it might be easier to put this in first, where it's gonna sit. And this one actually sucks. But we'll go around and push this into where it needs to go. I'll help it so it doesn't move. And I believe that it's supposed to go on the inside. That's why they got a little groove right here, so it should be something like that. I'm just using a screwdriver to kind of push it down a little bit. You don't want to puncture it because that's bad, but I think it's just a single wire because it's an antenna. So it should be good. So our buttons work. Ooh, my top button does not work. So I actually need to check on that. Maybe something's a little too tight. Maybe one of these. Sure enough. And that's why we always test along the way, because the last thing you want to do is have everything fully assembled and then it doesn't work. So these two tightened all the way down did not work for me, and so I had to just loosen them a tad bit, but everything works. So on to the next thing. So here's the fun part. If you haven't watched the other video on me putting them together, you have these two springs here, and you got these two notches. It may be a little hard to see on this one, so I will grab this here, the green one. You have this one that's recessed. They're both recessed, so this one right here and this one. The same thing on here, it's just kind of harder to see. So we're going to put the springs on top of them, and then we're going to take these two, this one and this one, push it over the springs. And again, remember, when the springs are pressed down, they have tension, so they just want to fly out. So you got to make sure that you're holding on to it pretty good and you're not releasing it. And then this part over here, these two pieces over here, will go over this and this. So it's put the springs down first, put the springs, or put these little nubs on the top of the springs, and then you're going to push down. You should hear it click, and we're going to confirm the springs are good. You definitely don't want them to be lopsided or not in place. The springs are very easy to lose. They're very small. You got to make sure you're holding your board upright. We're going to take and get these two nubs over on top of it. And then once that's there, then we can push down. Clicks. Test it out. We got the clicks. The springs look straight. They are not lopsided. They are still in the nubs. And so that step is done. So next, the battery. Before we do the battery, we're going to replace these with the clear ones because we don't want green still. So I'm going to take them off of here. You will need to clean off the edges if there's any extra sticking off. So like in this one, you can see this super small bit right here that's sticking out right here. That has to get cleaned off. So you can use your nail. That might work good enough. If not, then you may need to get like an X-Acto knife or just a small knife just to kind of get that little extra. And you'll know if it doesn't fit. So if it doesn't slide in, then that means you need to clean it off. Just gonna go ahead and take off the little bits right now. We should be good. So we're gonna take off these two screws right here. And that is a Phillips. I believe this is the Phillips. Just gonna leave these screws here because we're just gonna do this and then put them right back. So just be aware of which side you're doing. They only fit in one way, honestly, so pull one out. Just gonna use the tweezers. This is the SR, and it has 2 notches on it. And so the new one will just go right into its place. Pick it up just to make sure that it goes in. Silicone will go on top of it. There you go. And then it's the same thing with the other one. Go. These fit right in. And so I'll just be putting this back on top of it. Wrong way. That's the right way. There's a little notch over here. And then there is a second notch that sticks up. Just make that those are aligned. Put in our screw, grab our other screw, so next up we got our battery, and pretty simple, we're just gonna put that over that connector. And it's going to be kind of hard to push down with your finger, so I'm just going to use a screwdriver. And of course it doesn't want to go, so I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. There we go, clicks in. Battery goes where the battery goes. I'm actually going to put the battery, there's a little bit of a gap, and I believe that's where the wires actually go for the battery, if you can fit them in there. I think once they're along that route, it should be fine. There we go. So then we just got to do this last bottom part. So we will put this little black guy down in here. It too has a certain orientation that it needs to go. There's a little notch on it on this side right here. Sticks out, and then you have a notch right here, is very small notch. go ahead and make sure that's in place. The screw goes here, and then the notch will click into the release little lever thing. Of course, you don't want to pull this too far or out, because then you'll rip stuff, and you do not want that, especially this far into it. So that's there. Just want to make sure that this thing pushes in. This pushes in. So we are now on the home stretch. Let's kind of line everything up. Again, you want to always make sure that your buttons work before. So click all the buttons. Everything seems to click. And so then it's just putting in the last 4, these final screws. These are tri-wings. So if I could get that on there, there we go. So what I do is I screw all the way down, and I just come back just a tad bit, because like I mentioned in the other video, when you have clear transparent plastic, it's not as strong as just a solid plastic. So we don't want to tighten it too much, because sometimes they do crack. That just happens to be the nature of the beast. So again, also, after everything's in, make sure all your buttons work. And everything works on this. So there you have it. We have swapped out everything from the green controller over onto this thing, and I think this looks a lot better. I put the dust cover in there, and really you can't even tell. So if you like these kinds of videos, be sure to subscribe. I do have some Switch projects coming up. I did show off a little teaser of some custom Joy-Cons that I'll be making pretty soon. And these will be pretty customizable. Everything from pre-done images to custom stuff. You could put your gamer tag, you could put your name on there, you can put a message, you could put whatever kind of picture you want, and I'll go into that in another video. So subscribe, hit the bell for notifications for future videos coming up, and we are done with the Joy-Cons. So next will be the shell for the actual tablet portion. See you guys in the next one.